Welcome back, and now for the news in detail. The Indian troops have martyred two more civilians in northern Handwara region of occupied Kashmir. The occupation forces targeted youths during a cordon and search operation ongoing since yesterday. The forces have martyred 14 Kashmiris over the past 10 days in different districts of the valley. The occupied valley is reeling under New Delhi's crushing curfew and communications blackout for the past 272 days. On World Press Freedom Day, Pakistan has strongly condemned India over repression of media and harassment of journalists in occupied Kashmir. The Foreign Office said Islamabad expresses solidarity with the journalist fraternity, which continues to face a relentless campaign of intimidation. It said Pakistan also honors the sacrifices of Kashmiri journalists who have laid down their lives in the line of duty. The statement added that Kashmiri journalists continue to work with conviction and professionalism despite the atrocities of Indian forces. Global media watchdogs and international human rights groups have also expressed deep concern over unprecedented restrictions imposed on the media. Occupied Kashmir has been under curfew for the past 272 days, with the communications blackout also being imposed in the valley. Pakistan's Minister for Planning Asad Umar says COVID-19 has not proven as fatal in the country as in the rest of the world. Addressing a press briefing, the minister said, like other countries, Pakistan is also trying to flatten the pandemic's curve. More in this report.
The minister said the whole nation has to adopt safety measures to achieve success against this deadly virus. He said for every million people, only 2 deaths have been recorded across the country. Umar said all ministries will compile and present their data on the current situation to Prime Minister Imran Khan on 9th May. The minister said the country cannot afford a complete lockdown due to its weak economic situation. Pakistan's COVID-19 death toll has jumped to 440 after the country recorded 23 deaths in the last 24 hours. The health ministry said nearly 1,000 new confirmed cases have raised the total to over 19,000. Punjab and Sindh provinces have the highest number of cases at over 7,000 each. The ministry said more than 203,000 tests have been conducted countrywide, with over 8,700 taken since yesterday.
Over 1,600 more people have died in the US from the new coronavirus as many states continue to protest against stay-at-home orders. The global death toll from the disease has crossed 243,000, with over 3.4 million people infected. More in this report.
Lifting of stringent rules across US signals a new phase in country's response to the coronavirus. It came even as confirmed cases nationally continue to grow. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo has pushed back against what he called premature demands to reopen the state, but he conceded there has been a small drop in the number of new COVID-19 cases.
That number was going like this. That's why all the projections were wrong. New Yorkers grabbed it, pulled it down. They changed that curve because they stayed at home, they closed, they wore masks, etc.
With Spain gradually relaxing its tough lockdown, masks have been made compulsory on public transport in the country. France has extended state of emergency till June 24th and made quarantine and isolation compulsory for visitors.
À vivre avec le virus.
The next few weeks and months will be about learning how to live with the virus. That is what the draft law presented during the Council of Ministers by the Prime Minister meeting today is preparing. This bill extends the state of emergency until July 23rd because it is of absolute necessity. It is the guarantee that we will be fully able to react quickly and efficiently to the evolution of the health situation.
Vite et efficacement.
But Australia's state of Victoria recorded its highest increase in COVID-19 cases in weeks as part of the country began easing distancing rules. Meanwhile, China has reported only 2 new coronavirus cases, of which one is imported and the other is local. No deaths have been reported in the mainland for over 2 weeks now.
The Indian government has booked Delhi Minorities Commission Chairman Zafarul Islam Khan with sedition charges. Delhi police have registered an FIR against Khan allegedly for promoting enmity between different religious groups. The government said Khan has been charged for making a provocative comment to cause disharmony and create a rift in society. Earlier in a tweet, Khan thanked Kuwait for supporting Indian Muslims against Islamophobia. The Commission chairman said Hindutva extremists will not care about the persecution of Muslims in India. He said Indian Muslims have not yet officially complained to the Muslim world. If this happens, radicals will face an avalanche. Khan says he stands by his words and will not delete his message on Twitter. The Taliban say the US must honor its obligations under Doha peace deal. In a statement, spokesperson Zabiullah Mujahid said the path to a resolution in Afghanistan lies in the implementation of the agreement. Zabiullah Mujahid said Washington must not harm the current environment with pointless and provocative statements. This comes after US forces in Afghanistan said they will respond if the Taliban continue to increase attacks. In a Twitter post, spokesperson Sonny Leggett said US forces want the peace process to move forward. He said reducing violence is an absolute necessity and is up to the leaders of all the military forces, including Afghan forces and the Taliban and the coalition. The Afghan government says it has released 98 more Taliban prisoners as part of its efforts towards peace and battling COVID-19. In a tweet, National Security Council spokesperson Javed Faisal said inmates were freed based on their age, health and the length of remaining sentence. The spokesperson said the step is being taken under President Ashraf Ghani's order to comply with the Doha peace deal. The Kabul administration earlier released 300 Taliban prisoners to pave the way for intra-Afghan talks. Meanwhile, the Taliban have released 100 Afghan soldiers and officials to fulfill their end of the bargain. The prisoner swap was the first step scheduled to take place between Taliban and Kabul under the Doha deal. The Afghan government has accused Iranian guards of torturing and throwing Afghan migrants into the river to prevent their entry into the country. The Afghan Foreign Ministry said initial assessment suggests at least 70 Afghans were trying to enter Iran from bordering Herat province. In a statement, the ministry said the workers were pushed into Harirud River basin shared by Afghanistan, Iran and Turkmenistan. Doctors at Herat District Hospital said they had received bodies of 5 drowned migrants. However, Iranian consulate in Herat has denied the allegations of torture and subsequent drowning of the migrants. In a statement, the consulate said Iranian border guards have not arrested any Afghan citizens. Iran's Foreign Minister Javad Zarif has accused the United States of pouring weapons all over the world. This statement comes after Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said the US will work with the UN Security Council to extend the embargo on Iran. In a statement, Zarif said the US is the top of the list of the conflict profiteer and war initiator and instigator. The Iranian foreign minister said the US is the world's top military spender and arms seller. He said despite all these facts, Pompeo is apparently so worried about Iran, which was a huge US arms customer till 1979. The weapon sanctions on Iran are set to end in October this year under the 2015 nuclear deal. US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says shots fired by North Korea across its border with South Korea were accidental and led to no loss of life. He was responding to the exchange of gunfire between the two Korean neighbors around a rural guard post on Saturday. The incident happened a day after North Korean state media showed leader Kim Jong-un visiting a factory. In an interview, Pompeo said responding to those accidental shots, South Koreans did return fire. He declined to discuss whether he knows whether Kim has been gravely ill over the past few weeks. But he said based on video footage from Pyongyang state television at a recent event, it looks like Chairman Kim is alive and well. The appearance was Kim's first public appearance since the 11th of April, where rumors of his death began to surface. Seoul says North Korean troops have fired multiple shots towards South Korean guard post inside the demilitarized zone. In a statement, Joint Chiefs of Staff said South Korea responded by firing 2 shots, but no injuries were reported. But later, Seoul said the gunshots fired by Pyongyang's forces were not intentional. The exchange of gunfire follows the reappearance a day earlier of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un after a near 3-week absence. The tense 155-mile border between North and South Korea is one of the most militarized areas in the world. Over the years, the two militaries have occasionally exchanged gunfire. More stories to follow, but right after a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Turkish security forces say they have killed a dozen militants of the Kurdistan Workers' Party in northern Syria. In a tweet, the National Defense Ministry said YPG terrorists attempted to infiltrate the Operation Peace Spring zone to disrupt the peace. It said the Turkish commandos responded promptly and thwarted their harassment fire. Turkey has launched 4 successful anti-terrorist operations across its border in northern Syria since 2016. In a 30-year terror campaign against Turkey, the PKK has been responsible for the deaths of 40,000 people, including women and children. In Egypt, security forces have killed 18 militants in northern Sinai 2 days after a deadly blast claimed by ISIS. In a statement, the Interior Ministry said the forces targeted a militants' hideout where they were planning to launch hostile activities. The ministry also said automatic weapons and explosive devices were captured from the hideout. On Thursday, 10 soldiers were killed or wounded in an explosion targeting an armored vehicle in automatic weapons and explosive devices. Security forces have been battling a long-running insurgency in the area, spearheaded by a local ISIS affiliate. In Libya, targeting the militias of warlord Khalifa Haftar, the UN-backed government forces have killed 5 Sudanese Janjaweed militants. In a statement, the Libyan army-led operation said it carried out an airstrike on the Nesme region, 200 kilometers south of the capital, Tripoli. The statement said 3 armed vehicles were also destroyed in addition to the Sudanese militants killed. Media reports on Saturday documented the presence of mercenaries in Libya from neighboring Sudan fighting for Haftar. The Libyan army recently made gains against Haftar's militias, which are supported by France, Russia, the UAE and Egypt. Libya's government was founded in 2015 under a UN-led political deal. Since April 2019, the government has been under attack by Haftar's forces based in eastern Libya. Israel's Supreme Court has begun a 2-day hearing to determine whether Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will be allowed to form a new government. In a rare move, an expanded panel of 11 justices hears the arguments, and the session is aired live due to its significance. Netanyahu and Gantz signed an agreement last month to form a unity government. The petition requests the court to nullify the deal and bar Netanyahu from leading the government, citing criminal proceedings against him. Netanyahu's corruption trial is due to start on May the 24th after he was formally charged for bribery, fraud and breach of trust in January. Meanwhile, hundreds of people protested against the coalition deal in Tel Aviv as they oppose keeping Netanyahu in power after corruption charges. If the court strikes down the coalition deal, it can lead Israel to a 4th consecutive election in just over 12 months. The WHO has reiterated that COVID-19 is not a man-made virus and originated in nature. Driving the point home, the health body's coronavirus technical lead, Maria Karkove, said the pathogen's genetic sequence shows it comes from bats. Speaking to British media, Karkove went on to say more understanding is needed on the contagion's immediate host, meaning the animal suspected of contracting the virus from bats and passing it on to humans. Her statement comes after the US President Donald Trump said his government was investigating whether the coronavirus originated in a Wuhan laboratory. Recently, Trump also claimed he had seen evidence that backs his theory but failed to disclose what it was. Responding to the allegation, the head of the concerned lab says the accusation has no basis in reality. The US National Intelligence Director's Office has also rejected the idea, saying it had determined the virus was not man-made or genetically modified.
Compared to other coronavirus sequences that are available, this is of a natural origin. And it originally comes from bats because the coronaviruses come from bats. What we need to do is really understand what we call the intermediate host, what is the animal that was infected from bats that potentially infected humans. It's important that we know this because from a public health point of view, it's very important that we find the animal host so that we prevent this, we call spillover, from an animal, transmission from an animal to a human.
Pope Francis has called for transparent and impartial international scientific cooperation for the discovery of a vaccine for the coronavirus. The pontiff further said that it should be made accessible around the world when found. Francis thanked all those around the world who are providing essential services. He encouraged all forms of international cooperation to deal with the crisis and combat the virus. Francis said it was also important to guarantee universal access to essential technologies so everyone around the world can receive treatment. A number of pharmaceutical companies around the world have developed tests to identify antibodies. Most experts have suggested that clinical trials to guarantee a vaccine is safe and effective could take a minimum of 12 to 18 months. Britain's Prime Minister Boris Johnson reveals contingency plans were made for his death while he was hospitalized due to COVID-19 infection. In an interview, Johnson said at one point there was a 50-50 chance that he would need to be put on the ventilator. Johnson said he knew at the time that the doctors had devised a plan in the event of his death. He added that the strategy was to deal with the death of Stalin type scenario in reference to the former Soviet Union leader. Johnson said he was given liters and liters of oxygen to keep him alive and credited his recovery to wonderful nursing. The British Prime Minister was diagnosed with coronavirus on 26th of March and was admitted to London's St. Thomas Hospital 10 days later. He was shifted to the intensive care unit the following day. Russia has crossed France in the most number of COVID-19 cases, taking the country to number 6 with the highest number of infections. More than 10,000 new cases have been reported. In a statement, a Russian emergency team said the number of new infections climbed for the 5th day in a row. It said 58 people died in the last 24 hours, bringing the death toll to over 1,000 with more than 1,500 recoveries. The official said over 4.1 million tests have been carried out in the country so far. They said 3 top officials were hospitalized this week with the infection, including Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin. The country has so far reported over 100,000 cases in total. In Syria, reduced fighting between Russian-backed government troops and the Turkish forces in the country's northwestern territory has brought some measure of normalcy to Idlib. This gives displaced Syrian families the much-needed chance to observe a peaceful Ramadan. But this rare opportunity is also being hampered by concerns over the coronavirus. Details in this report.
Around 1 million Syrians fled Idlib and surrounding areas over the past year after government forces launched a push to retake the city. Medical infrastructure in the area has been decimated, raising concerns over the area's capacity to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. No confirmed cases have been reported in the area yet, but there is a palpable anxiety over the issue.
Ramadan is difficult because of the coronavirus. The coronavirus led to indescribable price hikes, but more importantly, being displaced is much more difficult than the coronavirus. When we left our homes and lands behind, we left our olive trees, everything. When we were displaced, this was much harder than the coronavirus.
Others say they have already experienced too much suffering to worry about the virus.
We didn't expect the coronavirus, but there is nothing harder than being displaced. Death is easier than displacement. We left our homes and came here to live among these trees. We left our homes and our lands. There is nothing harder than that.
With refugee camps filled to the brim, even one case of COVID-19 infection could quickly turn into a humanitarian disaster. But for refugees living near Syria's border with Turkey, nothing could be worse than losing their homes, land, and possessions to war. As of April 2020, roughly 5.6 million Syrians have fled the country. Another 6.2 million are internally displaced.
India's economy is reeling from the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. Both the government and the tourism sectors are incurring heavy losses, while daily wage earners continue struggling to survive. More in this report.
The COVID-19 pandemic has had a major impact on the Indian garment sector, with exports coming to a complete stop. Manufacturers, traders and workers have all been hit hard, and warehouses are full of finished product with no demand. People associated with the industry have been left with no income.
The situation is very grave right now because of the coronavirus. All the orders that we have cancelled in today's date, and the order we have in Mumbai that has also been cancelled. I have been thinking about how to get the stock now.
Much like the rest of the world, the Indian tourism sector is also in tatters.
The upcoming season looks like very bleak. The CM has already stated that next season might start only in December. So if it starts in December, I don't think there is hardly anything to be for the tourism season.
Meanwhile, the country's most impoverished citizens are struggling to survive. Migrant workers stranded in big cities when the lockdown was announced are still struggling to reach home. Some groups are trying to cash in on the tragedy using human trafficking techniques.
We have found that 18 people from Maharashtra were travelling to Lucknow, and they were found inside the truck. They were being taken in a very insensitive manner. We have shifted them to appropriate facility and sent the vehicle to police station and registered a first information report.
India has reported more than 35,000 cases and 1,147 confirmed deaths from the virus. On Friday, the government announced the lockdown would be extended by another 2 weeks after 4th May.
With strict lockdowns, the new coronavirus pandemic has postponed or cancelled a lot of entertainment, sports and other events across the world. But there are certain celebrations that probably cannot wait, so people have come up with alternatives to arrange such events. This report has more.
Ma Jialun and Zhang Yitong were to get married in October, but the pandemic has put their plan on hold. Not expecting to arrange a big ceremony in the foreseeable future, they said yes when entertainment startup approached them with an online wedding proposal. The couple exchanged vows in a 2-hour ceremony attended only by organizers and camera crew, but streamed live to families, friends and around 500,000 viewers.
I think we do have a little regret because there is a difference between posting messages online and communicating face-to-face at the site. But through this online wedding, we can share our happiness with more people that we don't know of, which I think is very meaningful.
Most of the events, including political meetings, birthday celebrations and chess tournament, have been going virtual for the last few months. The online wedding organizer believes the outbreak may have started a new lifestyle.
It's not just bringing a wedding ceremony online. It has become an online lifestyle. After the outbreak, we were forced to move part of our life online. For example, we have online classes and we get married online. It has become an online lifestyle. I think going online will be the new normal for us in the future.
China, where the virus emerged first, has eased the majority of restrictions and relaxed rules on quarantine amid dwindling cases.
Journalists around the globe are observing World Press Freedom Day today under the theme Journalism Without Fear or Favor. National and local celebrations for the day will take place, which includes online debates and workshops. This year, UNESCO's World Press Freedom Day conference in the Netherlands has been delayed until October due to COVID-19. In his message, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said media has a crucial role in helping people make informed decisions.
Journalists and media workers are crucial to helping us make informed decisions. As the world fights the COVID-19 pandemic, those decisions can make the difference between life and death. On World Press Freedom Day, we call on governments and others to guarantee that journalists can do their jobs throughout the COVID-19 pandemic and beyond. As the pandemic spreads, it has also given rise to a second pandemic of misinformation, from harmful health advice to wild conspiracy theories.
Over 1,800 families have become homeless in the western Kenya after the river Nzoia burst its banks. Local media says 116 people have died due to the rains and flooding across 29 counties so far. Kenya's Red Cross said locals have carried their belongings away from the submerged houses on boats and motorbikes. Meanwhile, a water bus carrying 20 people also capsized in the Usenje region in western Kenya due to strong winds caused by storms and rains. Police said speedboats responded to a distress call from the lake region and managed to save all of the passengers. Kenya is in its rainy season, which lasts from March to May. It's time for a short break. We'll be back with more stories. Stay tuned. Gulf stock markets have slumped over growing concerns regarding the fresh trade war between the US and China. Investor sentiments have also dampened over downward revision in ratings of regional companies and economies. Saudi Arabia's Tadawul index is trading nearly 6% lower after international rating agency Moody's revised Saudi Arabia's outlook to negative. Dubai's DFM index has lost 4%, while Abu Dhabi's ADX is trading over 2% lower. Bursa Kuwait has slumped by over 1%, while the Muscat Securities Index has lost over 0.5%. Qatar Stock Exchange has also lost 0.75%, while Bahrain's benchmark index remains unchanged. Another weather situation from around the globe. And that's all for now. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus News.